Welcome back to Showjumping 101. Whether you're a seasoned competitor or just getting started in the sport, this is the podcast where we dive into everything you need to know about riding, training, and competing at your best. Today, we're talking fitness, not just for your horse, but for you. Because let's face it, show jumping isn't just about holding on and hoping for the best. We've got Joanne Sloan-Allen, Sameh Eldahan, and Amir Fit joining us to chat about the different ways riders can stay physically fit, why there's no one-size-fits-all approach, and how fitness plays a key role in your performance in the ring. So grab a coffee, settle in, and let's get into it.
So for this next part of our podcast with Joanne and Sameh, we're talking a little bit about rider fitness. I mean, we all know that our horses are fit and fit to compete, but we really don't consider ourselves fitness a lot of the time, but I think it's becoming a lot more prevalent. And here we're with Amir Fit, who is based in Belfast, and he is a personal trainer for Joanne and Sameh. And Amir came to meet Joanne through her own personal circumstances and various illnesses that she had, not illnesses, but sort of ailments, shall we say. And so, Joanne, tell us a little bit how you met Amir and the profound difference he's made on you.
So over the years I had various back problems, surgeries, and then 2 years ago I had a major spinal reconstruction, a lot of metal put in, and at the time it was not sure if I would actually be able to ride again at any level. I worked with a local physio, Jill Crawford, through after the surgery. She worked with my surgeon and we got me back to a good state. I was riding again, but I wasn't comfortable that I was strong enough. I wasn't able to hold myself and I wasn't jumping at a level that I wanted to be at. So then I had a chat with Jill last year and she said, well, I know a guy, Amir, who works with Joseph Murphy and other athletes, because it was important also that it was somebody who knew about equestrian sport or sport in general. It couldn't just be a normal personal trainer. It wasn't that I wanted to look better. That would be a good benefit, but it was more core strength, stability and balance. So I contacted Amir and last May, and straight away he was like really positive, really, you know, and it was, we worked together, didn't we, to try to find some sort of a way of getting my base level better. And you can say what we had to work through and how you worked it out, really.
So one of the first things during our conversation, we figured out what you were good at, what your weaknesses were, what your limitations were, and obviously your beliefs as well. And then I realised the level you were at when we first started. And then over time, we looked at lots of different, several different things, and slowly but surely made small improvements, reassessed whether you were feeling okay, and then continuously progressed that until we are at this position that we are now.
And do you find that for a lot of people, as opposed to starting up their own exercise routine themselves, that working with you, what do you think are the benefits to someone working with a personal trainer, and maybe explain how you work?
Okay, so I always give people this example, you know, if they're getting stuff done at home, they'll maybe find a professional in that field, not because they can't do it, but because someone can do it a lot more quickly and take away the stress element. And the thing about fitness in general is that there's so much information out there, and it's very difficult to narrow down precisely what's going to work and what's going to, obviously in your case, keep you injury free. So obviously when we had our conversation, I have a physio background, my degree's in physiotherapy, and from that I was able to precisely determine what your limits were and how we were going to improve them. So one of the first things we looked at was your mobility and your flexibility. I think for most people, that's the start, that's the base. So for moving well, then we can look at other things such as your strength and conditioning, your balance. So flexibility was the first thing, and obviously your stability. We looked at that, and then we obviously have a lovely warm-up routine that we do every day.
Yeah, religiously.
And that's a routine that we put together for yourself based on things that I knew would actually help you move better in the morning, alleviate some pain, but allow you to then get onto the horse and obviously start riding and pushing yourself. But this warm-up routine that we do is a religious habit that we do every single day, 7 days a week. So we have to try and find a balance where it's not too difficult, but it's also quick and easy and requires zero equipment.
Yeah, because for me, what I personally needed was something every day, because for me it was more like to try and get my body going every morning. I usually do it in the morning. But then you started to work with Sam, who is obviously a very high-level athlete, what he's doing. I wanted to get back to a higher level in the sport, which I already am doing, which is amazing. The benefit from Amir is, I mean, you can see it yourself. Anybody watching my videos can actually see the journey that I've had going from here to where I am now. It's incredible, and it's all thanks to Amir. He then started to work with Sam as well, and working with Sam is completely different because he's a guy who needs different things, and Sam, actually you wanted different things from the training. You didn't want to bulk up because as an athlete that was important for you to be. So you can actually explain your journey with Amir then.
Well, obviously fitness, like we work our horses every day to keep them fit, supple, and mentally relaxed. So I guess they are athletes and we are athletes. So my thinking, and that has changed over the years. Like whenever I was younger, I never thought like this because you're by nature fit, and I'm always been a fit person. I was never chubby. I was always doing other kind of sports. But yeah, in the last 5-6 years, your mental state start to change and you start thinking a little bit differently. So when I started working with him, my concern was always that I don't want to bulk up. Remember we had this conversation. So it's not like I want to go to the gym and lift, heavier weights every week or whatever. I just want to be supple, fit, core strength, and mentally in a good place. And talking about Dran before actually talking about myself, I vouch for that because I've seen Dran since she, 15 years ago we've met, so I've seen her journey changing. Like I always know she's a very good rider, but she had some things that, kept her at the level that she wanted to go from higher. And when she had that last operation, and until she's been working with you, the riding hasn't changed. It's just the strength and the stability became easier or second to none to her, which made it easier for her to jump bigger level, and she just did her first 140 in I don't know how
3
many
years.
years.
I thought my career was...
And straight away, when you get into jumping bigger classes, horses and riders struggle because obviously it's in your level, but it wasn't at all for her. And the way she guided her mare, it wasn't a struggle for the mare as well. So it was actually beautiful to watch and see something like that in real life. A lot of people talk about this and that, but when you touch something with your own hands and eyes and you watch it, it just shows how important this specific part of our routine, which is the fitness routine, is important to us as athletes as well as the horses.
I think it's also very interesting, you mentioned how easy it was for you to jump 140. One of the things I notice with a lot of clients I work with is if they start a program and there's a lot of things that they can't do, and we break down those movements, for example, a squat or a lunge, all these amazing exercises that everyone loves and hates. But by building the confidence to do those movements, and then they get easier, you're now doing it with some weights, more resistance with bands, it then gives you that confidence to think, well, I've done all of this is very challenging. Maybe I can go and jump a little bit higher. Maybe I can ride a little bit quicker. And I feel like because every single day when you're doing your warm-up routines and they're getting easier, you're feeling more supple, you're building that confidence, that self-belief, and then it's very easy to transition that into the actual event itself.
Well, it's the same as a horse. If we want to, at the end of the day, if an amateur person wants to progress, what do? They go to a professional in that field for guidance and training. We basically go to a professional in the field, which is you. And the good thing about working, as opposed to me just like deciding to do a online Jane Fonda video or something, when I work with you, you'll say, you're doing that wrong. Or I'll say, that hurt a bit. No, we're going to step back, or we're going to do this, or we're going to bring something in. And actually the one thing I learned is by doing less, but the correct movements, actually, it's more beneficial.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you think you have to be in the gym for 5 hours and working out, and people are like, I can't do that. So they don't.
Yeah, it's quality over quantity, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, I agree with this because mentally also you're a lot more stable and you're a lot more confident. And this is something, again, like I see in Dran's riding and in your riding, it's been, so easy for you now to get into bigger classes because you're feeling much better in your body, you're a lot stronger, you hold yourself better. From my aspect is the same, because I believe in show jumping especially, the mental state is one of the most important factors in the sport, because if you're nervous, your horse is nervous. If you're not confident, your horse is not confident. They feel everything that we do. So when you are physically comfortable in yourself and you're confident and you're going into that ring with carrying that much mental strength, the horses rise to that as well. And it's amazing what you see when nerves comes into play, how your round suffers from it. And mental strength, we'll maybe talk about that later, is one of the most important things. But if you're physically comfortable and strong and you have stamina, you're straight away, your mental state is different. Absolutely. And a lot of riders, big riders, have been vocal about mental strength and how important it is for our sport. But in my opinion, it starts from your fitness, physical fitness, and your workout. You made me like my workout. That's because I've always worked out, I've always done things, but you always find it like, oh, I still have to do this, or, a little bit of a struggle. I said to Joanne the other day, I was in a 4-star Grand Prix, 5th, clear and 1 down in the jump off, finished at 9 o'clock at night, went back home, and I still did my workout.
That's incredible.
So, brilliant. But I wouldn't have done that before. It's something I would have never done before. It's only because we've been working together now for, 4 months.
Amir has a really nice way of bugging you. So it's like he just kind of hi, how's your day? And if you're like us, you're actually mentally as an athlete, you're competitive. And you have this little app, and you have to tick it off, and it really bugs me if I haven't ticked it off. And it's a mental thing, and you're the same.
It's like a to-do list, really. But to be honest, I also like doing it, and you feel better by doing it, and you feel stronger as you do it. You feel stronger. You ride your horses in more balance and more sync. And again, this is something that I, at the moment, wasn't suffering. It wasn't like I felt I wasn't in sync with my horses, but it's those little bits of extra that you need to be as competitive as I want to be at the top level. You need to fill all the gaps, and one of those gaps is basically what we have been working on, and I'm very grateful for you. And
no, thank you. I think it's very important as well with everyone that you work with to give them their own personalised approach.
Yeah.
I think that's the major difference. Obviously your programme is very different to Sam's programme. The levels you're both competing at present are very different, and as a coach myself, it's meeting you where you are, understanding where you want to be, and breaking that down into smaller, simpler goals and targets that we can tick off. And by giving you the ability to tick off your workouts, by checking in with you every single day, regardless of where you are in the world and in the different time zones, that little bit of accountability, I think, is what really helps you both, because you have a million things to do. I'm sure everybody knows how busy you both are, but just being able to factor that in. Like sometimes you'll do the warm-up in the morning, then you have to rush off. Yeah. But you'll tell me, Amir, I'm going to come back and do my workout. And yourself, that day you had a big competition. You knew you wanted to leave the workout until maybe after. Yep. You could have been fatigued mentally, but you knew, okay, this is now a daily habit. I need to tick this off. Yep. And you just went in and you
It's accountability, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And the most important thing from show jumpers' point of view, that when you work with a personal trainer, that like you guys mentioned before, is to have a little bit of an equine idea of what we do. Because like I said, I know what I want. I know I don't want to bulk up. I know I want to be stay slim, fit, long in the muscles and all that. So it's not just any personal trainer. It's somebody that has an understanding of what show jumping requires, what muscles you need to be strengthened and things like this. So it's quite important that it's not just, because even other sports, for instance, tennis, if I used to play other sports with show jumping, and when you play tennis, you make one side of your body a lot stronger than the other side. You don't need that in show jumping. So it's quite specific to show jumping, the cross fitness that we need to do. And luckily that you have that equine background and understand what horses need and what show jumpers need, and you can work on that and increase the stamina.
It's also interesting when you were asking about, is it burst or something, how we use our muscles, the different types.
Yeah,
because
fast twitch, slow twitch.
Because you've already now, that's another interesting thing, is people would ask us, well, when's a good time to start? Well, actually, nobody is ever too young to start their fitness journey. Like Ariel is now actually working with Amir, and she's 14. We thought it was important for Ari because she was riding her ponies, she's running around, she does netball, she does all these things, but already at her age, we found it was important that she learnt good nutrition, not bad nutrition, importance of body strength as opposed to body image, which is, especially for a girl, we're very conscious all the time of this sport, that they're in front of a camera. We want girls to be fit, don't we?
Absolutely.
So your journey with Ari was, you explained to her about the different muscles and whatever, weren't you?
And I think it's very important. Obviously, not everyone can start young, but when you are able to work with someone who's very young, it's getting in there before they develop any imbalances and asymmetry. I mean, you've mentioned with tennis, there's a lot of asymmetry between the sides that you may play with and not. But with Ari, it was great because she's obviously only 14. She's starting out and really emphasising the importance of strength and conditioning. And with Ari, obviously it's important for me not to be giving her weights. She's still growing. So a lot of it's, flexibility, stability, core strength is massively important. Making sure that she's strong in the saddle when she's approaching jumps. Obviously the horses are huge and they're only going to get bigger, and they're going to obviously put a lot of pressure on her to move side to side. She needs to be strong in the saddle. You'll know this a lot more than I will. But just being able to have the strength in your legs and the right muscles as well. Because I know you've mentioned a couple of times already about not building too much muscle, and that's been super important. Obviously we'll talk a little bit about nutrition and how we do that, but then it's also looking at the muscles and thinking which muscles we need to target the most and what exercises are going to help you engage those muscles the most. For example, if I'm giving you a glute exercise and giving you a glute exercise, if they're both the same exercises, sometimes you might not feel it as much as you might. So it's being specific with the exercise and the muscles that we're trying to target. And it's exactly the same with Harry. I have to kind of look at where she is now, where we want her to go, and what's the most important thing we need to develop with her right now.
Yeah, it's all about developing from a young age a healthy mindset and a positive body image and a positive image about sport, because a lot of kids in school, the sports that they do, it's kind of more of they almost see it as a punishment.
Yeah.
You grew up, Sam, in Egypt, where every day you were out playing football. It's obviously the weather is also different. Yeah. It's harder for the kids here. I mean, it's
not the weather is something, but it's also now it's so professional. The sport is, even from a young age, which is not ideal, but it is how the sport is at the moment. So you don't have that. I had so much time that I can go and play squash, play tennis, play football, run, swim, all kind of other sports. So that's why, although you're riding, but you kept a high fitness level because you're doing all that sport. But when I watch now Showjumping, there is weekly shows. We used to go one show a month. There's every week there's shows. So it's not like they have a weekend that they can go to swimming or go play different kind of sport. So I think it's so important now to have an idea of what is CrossFitness and what you need to do to stay at a high level of fitness, high level of core strength from an early age. And I also see that the mentality of the riders has changed. Actually, mentality of the world has changed massively in consideration of this. You see a lot of, younger guys and girls going to the gym, working out, running. You see a lot of people running when there's nice days. They run outside, outdoors. So it's actually interesting to see. And I think from a quality of life, taking sports out of it, it also helps massively in every direction, and it's so important that people are now taking this on and doing it.
Well, not just in our sport. I find in general, I can only obviously use Ariel as an example, but I have found that since she's been obviously training, she trains in a professional system, she works with you, her self-confidence, especially for a girl in this sport, and we will go on to this later on, the mental aspect of it all, which we believe is very strong. I think the two, as Sam has already said, are very tied. The mental and the physical. It's incredible, especially for kids. You don't realise how much, when they feel physically strong and confident, you give them a routine. There's a confidence in that repetition, and I think it's a structure. And a lot of kids don't have that structure now. They watch TV or they'll hang out. There's no real structure in their lives. By bringing in sport and what you do, we're actually putting, just making them think about their life in focus and structure. And I think that ties through. I've even noticed the teachers in school saying, Ariel's so focused in class. she's been starting to work more professionally now. You know, when she was younger, it was harder. But from she's actually the last, couple of years, we've been ramping up how she trains now. It's more, we bring it into more professional, structured, working with you.
Still in a fun way. It has to be fun for kids. It has to be fun for kids, and they have to enjoy what they do. And sometimes it's hard, again, like whenever she finishes school, or any kid finishes school at 4 or 5 o'clock, and they have to come and ride in the winter days at night. It's hard. So you have to try as much as possible to make it fun for them. Also, when they go to shows and they have a little win and a little rosette and a little this, it makes them more motivated and want to do it more. But I remember when I was a kid, it was just fun. You know, you go, you meet your friends, you ride horses. After horses, you hang about, you play hide and seek, whatever it is you play after. Again, I was luckier because our climate, you know, in Egypt was definitely different than here. So you can stay all day outside and don't get cold or anything like that. But it's important for kids, because this is something I'm seeing a little bit. We chatted about this before, that it's becoming a bit too professional. But for me, any kid has to enjoy what they do before it becomes to that professional stage and it's serious and full focus and full concentration.
And I think that's how it really works with working with you, because you make it fun for Ari. I haven't seen Ari. It's not a punishment, because I broached the subject with her, because I could see, you know, just as growing and, you know, getting a bit leggy and sore knees. Actually, she had a knee injury because she was playing netball. And we were actually quite worried then about carrying on an injury, doing damage. And that's why we suggested working with you. And it was never she never had a negative about it. Sure, she didn't, because she finds you fun. And I mean, you obviously work with her. We don't get involved, but I think you're finding that she's working well with you.
She's brilliant to work with. And what I really like about her is I'm giving her the opportunity to give me feedback, and I want to hear her view and her opinion on the exercises, how she feels, what she thinks is actually working, what isn't. And by understanding what she likes and what she wants, I can direct her to where I want her to be. And for example, this week we'll be changing her program a little bit, because she's told me other things that she wants to do. So she's mentioned running, a bit like what you've been talking about, how it's important to have other things that coincide with the show jumping. And then one of the things that you kind of were chatting about with how it's improving other elements of her life, there's this thing about delayed gratification that the people in this day and age, as they're younger, they don't understand. They don't understand that they have to maybe work hard at something for a while before they'll see the benefits. But because she is obviously training with me, seeing some small changes, but she's happy with that and she's content, and then she'll go away, do another week, and then by this summer, when she's doing the big competitions, she will really feel the benefit from working with me in December and January. And that's it's really important, I find, to teach your younger ones as well.
And I think also that what you just said there is important. She has a voice. Sometimes kids, you know, in school, you're told to sit down and be quiet, you're told this, whatever. And she's a person, she has her own opinions. Sometimes also we forget when we're training her, we're the adults, so we're always trying to guide her and help her. It's actually lovely that she can say that to you, and she feels in herself a person. You know, she's developing into her own personality and her own character, and I feel that this enables her to actually have a voice and to express that, which is sport for me is also an expression.
I think it's fascinating, and it's so important to keep CrossFit and fitness in mind with whatever sports you're doing. Doesn't mean like we're show jumpers, so we're talking about show jumping, but it's important to combine the two, I guess. So,
are there any exercises or any, because obviously you're a personal trainer, so you work with these guys, you can't train everybody in the world, but are there some tips or something, or some exercises that you could suggest for people to start with to help with their core strength, maybe some balance? Are there any things, I mean, that might be able to help some people out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So the recommendations I would probably give are just bodyweight exercises that people can start with. So everyone knows that a squat's a great exercise, lunges are great exercises. If you have a sofa or a step at home, you can do box step ups, one leg at a time. That's going to challenge your stability, a little bit of balance as well. The lunges obviously will do that too. And then you can go one step further and do things like courtesy lunges, where you're almost like you're bowing to the queen, effectively, and that will challenge your balance as well. And then when it comes to abs, best way to train abs, in my opinion, would be doing a varied range of exercises. So everyone knows about a plank, everyone knows about crunches. You can also do things like Russian twists, where you're challenging your abs in slightly different ways. Another exercise for the legs, which is really good, are wall sits. That's very good exercise.
Sam loves those, don't you, Sam?
There's something you're going to do when you're on the horse as well, just being able, it's an isometric hold effectively, so your muscle isn't changing length, but you're really challenging your muscles, so that's a great exercise to do. So those little exercises initially are great because they're targeting the major muscles in your legs and a bit of your abs as well, which are the key factors when it comes to horse riding.
And so would you say, because obviously Sam doesn't want to bulk up, and there's nothing worse, in my thoughts anyway, of when you see a big beefy bloke on a horse. I mean, the horse has got to carry the bloke for a start over a big fence. So being trim on a horse is actually, you know, you want to help the horse if you're jumping 1 meter 50 plus. I mean, you don't want to be huge. So how do you manage to keep those muscles lean?
So the big thing is your calories. So how many calories you're consuming. I can put you through the most rigorous training routines, but if you aren't consuming enough calories to build that muscle, you won't build that muscle. So one of the first things I do with every one of my clients is take care of their nutrition. So again, Joanne's nutrition is very different to Sam's. And there's other things that Sam mentioned about, you know, stress and management, and there's something he does, I'm not sure he knows he does, that really helps with that I will obviously discuss as well soon. I was doing a bit of research on this.
Didn't know about that.
But yeah, so by controlling Sam's calories, I'm controlling how much weight he can potentially put on. And I am obviously, the more muscle fibers we break through exercise, the bigger his muscles will tend to become. And so we're very restrictive with the weights that he's lifting. So the dumbbells he uses, I know how much he's lifting in terms of the weight, the repetitions, and I'm controlling the stress that he puts on his body, and then obviously controlling the amount of calories that he's consuming as well. And that's how we can keep an eye on how his weight's performing.
One of the biggest problems we have actually as riders is trying to get enough food in it. We have this discussion because there's a lot of times Amir will say to me, well, what did you eat today? And I'm like, well, but I always have, we have like a smoothie for me, don't we? I have like a protein powders, I have like loads of powders of vitamins and everything. And if I get that every morning, at least I know that I'm getting that nutritional support that I need. Also, before I jump, if it's in the morning, I don't like to eat a lot because most riders don't. It's nothing worse. So it's trying to balance that, isn't it? Yeah. And I think that's good to have somebody professional rather than us guessing. And obviously my requirements are a lot less than Sam's because obviously I'm a girl and my metabolism is different than his. So having someone that I'll say, okay, what about this or what about that is actually very beneficial.
And I think the smoothie is great for you because, as you've mentioned, your routine throughout the day is very different. So because I don't know the types of foods you might have access to as the day goes on, starting the day perfectly with a smoothie, knowing that you're getting enough protein, vitamins, minerals, and knowing it's light in your stomach is just the perfect way for you to start every day. It's a bit like your morning routine. Yeah. I'm not sure how your day is going to go, but by giving you that exercise routine in the morning, I know we're switching on the right muscles, loosening the muscles that we want, and you just got the perfect start to your day.
Yeah, and I mean, that's keeping an eye on, I think, our protein levels is quite important, isn't it? As opposed to carbs. Yeah. Because we do try, like I try to have lower carbs, and I find that's been really beneficial to me personally. I've gone lactose free now, which I didn't realise was an issue actually for me. And you said like a lot of women, it's a big problem.
It does. I mean, I think most people when it comes to dairy products are slightly lactose intolerant. We just don't know what level we have in terms of the intolerance. So what I typically do is remove it to begin with, and then slowly reintroduce it to see how they feel. And most times females will actually find that they can do without it, for one. But secondly, when they reintroduce it, there tends to become a bit of an issue with their stomach, but they maybe don't notice that at the start because they're having it all the time. Yeah. And feeling bloated is something that they think is normal, which unfortunately isn't. Yeah. And interestingly with Sam, I was saying, so one of the things you'd mentioned a couple of times was, your mental state and, stress management. And one of the supplements that's very good for that is the likes of magnesium and getting enough vitamins and minerals. And because you're from Egypt, you love your fruit. And interestingly, there's everything that you need is in fruit. So one of the things that John always laughs about is Sam, he constantly snacks all day on fruit. But I have never once asked him to track that, to control how much he's having. I've always said to him, go for it. And the reason being, obviously, he's getting everything that he needs from that. But it's
you can blame my dad for that. He used to bring plenty of fruits at home, so I just spend my day doing that. But yeah,
and it works great because magnesium is a great supplement to help with keeping
Maybe
your
that's why
stress
I'm too
levels.
laid back, because I eat a lot of fruits.
It could well be, but it's fantastic. Even things like leafy greens, like spinach and stuff, that's good for
We
your
love spinach,
magnesium.
actually. Yeah, we'll use a lot of it. The funny thing is, naturally, we gravitate, I think, because we spend so much time in Europe, we would be more a Mediterranean diet. Sam obviously comes from the Mediterranean. I would be away a lot. So we actually naturally would be quite healthy in what we eat and cook, which is a good thing. It might be more difficult for other people to change their eating habits. It was easier for us, wasn't it, to bring it in? Probably me, the fruit thing, I don't really eat so much fruit. But my smoothie, I put it in that, so that's how we...
And that's why the smoothie's there.
Yeah.
But there is I mean, you know, most people when they go to shows, I'm sorry, but there is no Mediterranean diet canteen.
Yeah.
It's chips, it's sausage rolls.
Fried.
It's beige
Fried,
food,
yeah,
fried beige food. So how, you know, if you've got a client who is training with you, they're going to shows, there is nowhere that they can find good food. I mean, what do you suggest that they do?
So when it comes to things like that, I always say to my clients, you're so prepared in terms of what you've done with your horse, what you've done with your kit, and getting everything organised. There's lots of different ways that you can plan your meals ahead. Now, I don't mind my clients having a bit of relaxed food every now and then. So say you're competing on a Saturday and Saturday night, you want to go out for a lovely meal and enjoy the chips maybe from the chip van, that's fine. But I would ask my clients to try and prepare ahead. So things like you've been having a smoothie, you know, you can, if there's a fridge in your van, that would be great. And there's other things that you can bring with you. So some of my clients love their salads, some of them will maybe bring their meals, you know, whether it's chicken, rice and vegetables, whatever they've part of their plan, they can usually stick to it. But the biggest problem is because they're so overwhelmed with the fact that they're maybe competing, they don't think of their nutrition. In fact, a lot of the equestrian riders I used to work with wouldn't eat at all.
They don't eat.
And then you're talking about being in the right mental state. Well, how can you be in the right mental state if you haven't eaten properly? And on top of that, you probably haven't hydrated properly either. So there's lots of different things that people ignore.
This is so important, the hydration, and I've been very conscious about this.
Yeah, me too,
You know,
especially in the desert.
The last while is to always drink water. Like, I might not be so, you know, on the dot or focus with the food because obviously you're showing you're busy, but you always have water, and this is something that we've chatted about a lot. What also I want to add on this, a lot of the shows now are taking in consideration the healthy food choices. So you always find, even in the canteens with a lot of fried food, there will be a healthy sort of salad or a, you know, something that is not as heavy as before. So
We do a lot of cooking, and we're lucky. I don't mind when we're away actually cooking. I send you all our photographs of our food.
Love it.
I have a Ninja. That is a lifesaver, okay? This is going to be like an advert for Ninja, but this is true. If Ninja want to sponsor us, I am a Ninja fanatic because I have this Ninja thing. I don't even use like in my lorry now, I don't use any of the other cooking things, and I can do everything in it. I cooked a whole chicken. I did. Brilliant. Like full chicken dinner in my Ninja. I can make rice, vegetables, everything. So actually it's quite easy for me, as you say, in advance. I'll usually, if we're going to a national show, okay, we haven't been in Europe now, so I don't have the truck, but usually in Europe I can have the lorry prepped, lots of fruit and vegetables and whatever in the fridge, and it's dead easy. Or I can throw it in and just slow cook it. So it is just about being prepared. It's not really an excuse otherwise, you know.
Absolutely, because everything else is, you know, laser focused when it comes to getting the horses ready, getting yourself ready. I just say to my clients that give yourself 15 minutes to organise what you're doing with your nutrition, because that's going to have a massive impact on your performance anyway. And I think people underrate that, how important their nutrition and their training, their hydration is when it comes to the performance itself. So if they did give those 15 minutes.
I agree, because I was the same. Like, I would not think about my nutrition and hydration. I'm mostly thinking about what my horses are doing, when am I riding them, what is the time of the class, and you get like in a vicious cycle, or you know, that you're just focused on your horse. But yeah, something that we as riders have to really take in consideration nowadays.
Do you think there's a because obviously everybody at the moment says, oh, you've got to eat protein, you've got to max out on your protein, you need to have loads of protein. I mean, protein, you buy protein bars of all sorts of shapes and sizes, and carbs are the devil. But you're a rider, so you need energy.
Yeah.
And so what do you think about that, Amir?
So, great question. There's a balance. You need everything, but it's the right quantities and most importantly the right timing. So if someone was competing, I would recommend 3 hours before to have carbs, fats, protein, but easily digestible versions. So for example, it could be a bowl of porridge with a little bit of peanut butter and maybe a scoop of protein. Now I know we've talked a lot about protein. I would rather you got your protein from natural sources, but obviously you're maybe not going to cook eggs in the morning before a competition. So something as simple and easy as that, 3 hours before, sustained energy, sustained focus, and mental clarity as well. Because that's, if you're having something light like that 3 hours before, it'll be digested, and then you'll not feel hungry either, because it's slow release carbohydrates. So carbs are not the enemy. It's just people over consume, and I think that's where the problem is. And by sometimes restricting them, when people are, trying to gauge how much they're having in terms of their carbs, they're underestimating what they're actually getting. So by telling them they're only allowed, say, 100 grams per day, they might think they're having 100, but they're actually having 150, but the 150 is fine. If I allowed them 150, they might be having 200. So it's sometimes I would purposely tell people, oh, you're only allowed this, and they're trying to eyeball, because a lot of times, yes, people will want to track every gram, every calorie of food they're consuming. In this case, it's not possible. Yeah, so I have to give people an example of what they can have, and they're going to try and eyeball what they're having.
Are there any apps or any things that you recommend that can help people?
So MyFitnessPal is a great app that people use to put in the foods that they're having. What I usually say to people is it's important to maybe track for 2 weeks so that you can actually understand portion size. Once you've done that, you don't have to track. I haven't tracked in years. I eyeball all my food, and I know you don't track, and I know you don't track. But initially, what I try and get people to do, as Joanne will tell you, is we'll send photos of our food. So people will send me photos of their food.
I just do it to make you hungry.
Exactly. So I'll look at that, and I can quickly gauge where we are. And then I might say, oh, okay, there's too much rice there, or there's not enough protein there. And by doing that, eventually people will look at that and think, okay, that's how much I'm allowed in terms of carbohydrates, that's how much I'm allowed in terms of protein, and those fats are perfect. So it is important, I think, initially to track, but you can't sustain that for the rest of your life, and nor should you.
That's really good, yeah. And if anybody then, so say somebody wanted to, like I did, I had to make a drastic change, but most people don't know how to go about it, actually. So how would you, not just you, but obviously you're available and people can contact you, but how would somebody go about, like how do you find the right person? I mean, mine was a personal recommendation. How would you suggest, because you're in the industry, how does somebody go about it?
I always find the people that are worth working with are the ones that are either leading by example or live and breathe this every single day. I think it's very difficult to motivate someone to do something if you're not really doing it yourself. Yeah. It's a bit like yourself, why would somebody want to work with you if you've never been show jumping and you don't compete at the level that they want to get to? Mm-hmm. But if someone is wanting to start and make changes, I would always say start small. Easy, sustainable things that you can continue with. So rather than trying to overhaul everything, like your nutrition, your training, getting up at 5 a.m, doing ice baths, whatever people want to do, rather than trying to do everything at once, it's almost, I'm going to look at my nutrition first and foremost. I'm going to get that in place because it's going to help me mentally, it's going to help with my body fat, it's going to help me with my energy. Once you've finalised that, then you can maybe start introducing exercises. People usually go exercise first, but it's very hard to recover from and have the energy to do the training that you need to if your nutrition isn't where it needs to be. So I always say nutrition first, but small, sustainable habits. So for example, rather than always thinking about what can I take away from my nutrition, I always say, okay, what can you add? Can you get more vegetables into your nutrition? Can you eat more fruit? Can you look at that first by getting more nutrients in? And then what you'll find is you'll start to feel more full with more veg and fruit. And then slowly but surely, the stuff that you probably shouldn't be having starts to come down. And now you're replacing. And that's, I think, a more sustainable way of doing it.
And that's a wrap on this episode of Showjumping 101. A huge thank you to Joanne Sloan Allen, Sameh Eldahan and Amir Fit for sharing their insights on getting competition ready from a physical perspective. Whether you're hitting the gym, fine-tuning your riding fitness, or just trying to keep up with your horse's athleticism, remember, it's all about finding what works for you, but we're not stopping there. Next time, we're tackling the mental game with the brilliant Sandy Robertson. Because, let's be honest, show jumping isn't just about how strong your legs are. It's about keeping your head in the game when the pressure's on. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. And if you love this episode, leave us a review. It really helps. You can also keep up with all the action by following Sycamore Stable and Sameh Eldahan on social media for behind-the-scenes content, training tips, and all things show jumping. Until next time, ride smart, stay strong, and keep aiming for those clear rounds.